Are you loving retail therapy? Because I am, and we have a brand new episode for you today. We are back at it giving therapy to retailers, and today's retailer is Rose with SF Dance Studio out of San Francisco, and my therapist is Corrine Z. Walsh. If you've listened to her before, you know what powerhouse. She is such a powerhouse in business. And after this session with Rose, I asked Corrine separately, I was like, are you an alien? The advice she gave Rose and the way that she really related it to Rose's business, the ideas that came out of it for her to focus where she should really spend her energy and her attention. Corrine gives us a framework in this call and really talks about the power of planning and our zone of genius and just really helping Rose get clear, which through that can help you get clear on how you should really be focusing if you ever feel so in the weeds and like you are just doing a million things and just trying to constantly keep your head above water. Man, if you could relate to that, you're going to get a lot of value out of today's episode. And even if you feel like you're smooth sailing, I think you need to listen to this episode because there's so much, just so much from a framework perspective, strategy perspective, and again, clarity. So I think you're going to get so much out of it. If you haven't checked out our therapist yet, be sure to go to heycorrine.com. Download her app. You could talk to her every morning like I do. I'm so grateful that she is here with us, giving us all of her expertise and energy, supporting our guests. So here we go. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail. Rose, Corrine, welcome to Rooted in Retail Therapy. I'm thrilled you both are here.
So happy to be here, Crystal. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so excited for this conversation. And for those of you who maybe haven't listened to a retail therapy yet, this is where we give therapy to retailers, but we're not therapists. We are business strategists and business coaches here to support our retailers in a challenge or issue that they're experiencing. It can be so challenging and isolating being business owners and being retailers. And so this episode and this segment is really here to help support you in your store. And today we have Rose and Corrine, who is our therapist. Rose, I'll have you introduce yourself in a second. Corrine, I'm going to have you take a minute here and tell our listeners, in case they are new to you, who you are.
Hey, everyone. This is Corrine here. I am a seasoned business strategist, entrepreneur, and basically focus on helping businesses sustain growth with their exit in mind. And that specialty comes from many years of helping startups launch and exit, helping entrepreneurs get started and keep going, helping sometimes close businesses down because it's just, that's it. They've reached their mark. So I'm honored to be here and love working with Crystal on all things, but truly just to serve. Like, I have a heart of service and I love to share whatever business acumen I can to help people get out of their own way, move forward the way they want. And it's what I love to do. So happy to be here today.
Yeah, well, we're incredibly lucky to have you. And my role really is to be a fly on the wall and also get the therapy. So I listen. Sometimes I chime in. I'm really excited for this conversation because I've seen your pre-submitted, Rose. And of course, whatever's coming up for you, we want you to share. Rose, I'd love to turn it over to you. And will you share your store, where you're located, and then the challenge or issue that you'd like help with today?
Yeah, so I have a dance store in San Francisco, SF Dance Gear, and we've been open about 6.5 years. So we opened in mid 2018. So we really just got going, and then the pandemic hit, and then we're just kind of powered through as best I could, and just here for the dancers of the Bay Area to help them with their shoes, clothes, accessories, and kind of coming more into this role of business owner because I grew up dancing. So that part I know and can talk about all day long. But just kind of this idea of being this business owner and kind of being this woman in charge is this kind of new role for me where I'm like, sometimes the imposter syndrome starts to get to me. or I'm like, possibly undiagnosed ADHD is getting to me where I'm like, oh, is this why I'm like slowly going insane? Okay. And just kind of getting all of these ducks in a row of growing this business and potentially opening new stores and just doing the best that I can at what I've started.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. If you had to kind of boil it down, which I so love, like so many of our listeners can so relate to what you just said. It's so relatable. And I love that you're here so we can have this conversation and help support you. So if you kind of boiled it down, what is the kind of the main thing right now that you really need that support and to kind of work through?
That is such a hard question to answer because I also struggle with like trying to like home in on one thing. Like that's often where I find a lot of struggle is like, where do I put my focus? Am I, working in the business? Am I working on the business? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? And because of course, as many of us small business owners wear all of the hats, I think part of me is like, I don't really know what to focus on sometimes. So even just answering that question, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. So it just, it makes sense that it feels overwhelming because when we do initiate something and we're uncertain even of what the business model is and how we want to lead that business model in coming from a dance creative life, right? Like that's a big shift in role and responsibility for you. So first, I want to commend you that you've been in business for 6 years. Like that is not easy to do when you actually launch something new and have sustainability. I mean, most businesses close within 2 years of getting started because of the lack of resourcefulness or tenacity to continue and figure out what the best role is for you to be playing, but also what's best for your customers and clients to have the best experience coming and wanting to come back. That's number one. I want you to celebrate the fact that you've been in business that long. But what I really want to help you with is figuring out how can you enjoy it more going forward, and feel that you are in control of the things you want to be in control of, and you're figuring out what are the things that I can actually delegate or hire someone for, or maybe even stop doing that doesn't fit with the business model that we're in. Those are the key questions in order to find that focus that you're hoping for. And I did read your submission of your question too, where you have the challenge of one thing at a time or focusing on one thing at a time. There's a method out there. It's called the rapid planning method, which allows you to think about all the things, but then helps you prioritize and what you're going to focus on in this moment. So even if you're on an undiagnosed ADHD mindset, right? The mindset of the fact that you can think of multiple things almost at once, or you're kind of toggling between things in your mind. It's important to figure out a framework, a toolkit to help you organize it so that you know, okay, I know I can always step into many things, but what's that one thing that I should do right now based on this task list? So it's kind of like you're pre-planning and getting all your thoughts down. But what you're going to master is prioritization on what task to pick up first. And I think for you to have that kind of toolkit for yourself, if that's how your mind works, it's also going to help you identify what lights you up. What do you like doing about this? Why are you in this business to begin with? Why you want to continue in this business so that you can enjoy it going forward. So I know I just shared a lot of things, but I also know that your mind can handle a lot of things. Right. And I think we have to, right? Like, so I'm pretty sure you got it. And I was thinking too, I was like, dancers have to always have foresight of what's to come in order to step into that next beat, right? And it's the same in business. You have to have foresight as to what's to come in order to step into it. So it's almost like if you could use that framework of choreography is the same as business operations. It's the same as like client attraction. It's literally having the foresight and knowing that, okay, here's the design of what we're going after next. Now, what's the next step I have to take to be on beat? I think it would be really cool to start thinking about your business using the acumen you had as a dancer and say, how can I use that framework in order to lead this business and actually dance through it and not feel so overwhelmed in all these have tos and the structure maybe that someone else actually put together in their business, but might not fit for you as an owner. Any of that resonate for you?
Well, I am loving the dance choreography analogy, of course. Anything that I can turn into some sort of, like, I love puns. And so, like, you kind of like saying to stay on beat. I'm like, yes, love it.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, but it can relate, right? Like now it doesn't feel so daunting.
Yeah,
because it's
actually.
the same mindset, honestly, Rose. It's the same mindset. Because as a former wannabe solid gold dancer when I was a kid, I love choreography and I love to think about it, but I have that foresighted mind, which is that's why I can say it to you, because it's very similar to, there's a strategy of steps you have to go into in order to build and run a business. And you have done so, and you've been successful in the 6 years because you have this innate ability of foresight and the innate ability to step into it and keep on dancing, right?
Yeah.
So we need to then figure out the structure, though, for you is like, what's the role you want to play in this team of choreographed people that you work with in your business, so that you can have more enjoyment, less exhaustion, or less overwhelm, and figure that out. So I guess I want to understand from you, what is the thing about your business that you feel you've mastered? Like, you understand the steps, you've always stepped into it. There's no issue there. What's the area of business that you feel like you have down?
Well, the thing that we're very well known for is point shoe fittings. It's where dancers come in to get those very special ballerina shoes where you can stand on the tips of your toes. And so, I actually have that kind of choreographed, the way that I'll go through those step-by-step things, asking dancers questions and going through all that. And that actually has been able to kind of that idea that I love that Crystal has of being 15 Mile famous. We are a little bit 15 Mile famous for that. Therefore, sometimes I have the honor of getting asked for by name that people want. And they say, like, I want a fitting with Rose. And I'm like, okay, can I? And I love doing it. But I'm also, do I have time to be always ready to step into that role when I'm also juggling everything else?
Yep.
And yes, doing those fittings brings me a lot of joy, but it is also sometimes adding to that state of overwhelm of trying to
put your time there.
Right. Yes, be present right there. Because also some of the other things where I can work on the business, I can potentially do from home if I'm just on the computer. But actually being there for the customers, I have to be present there.
Yes.
And then that just adds on to, like, oh, well, while I'm here, I'm also going to reorganize the apparel. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to dust this thing. And then I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
These are things that I don't have to be doing. I can delegate this. But again, I also find joy in every single part. So I don't mind stepping into that role of, let me just do this busy work moment for a second of the soothing folding the ribbon. It's honestly, it's not something I need to do, but it still brings me joy. So I have to sometimes rein in this, all these different things that I could be doing. And I'm like, wait, what is that priority? What should I actually be focusing on?
When you were a dancer, did you dance in an ensemble?
Oh, yeah.
So
sometimes,
if you were the lead of that ensemble, would you be able then to also go sweep the stage?
At the same time? No.
So what I want you to do from now on, you are the lead in your business right now. And you have to think about the fact that you have an ensemble that you're working with, and or the priority of your role in that ensemble. Because of course you're going to find joy in any task for your business because it's part of your business. But the prioritization of the role you're meant to play so that everybody shines is super important to stay aligned with that role. So that just to give you an image of something to think about when you start to get distraction factor going forward is like, am I being the lead right now? Because sometimes we have to check ourselves on the role we're meant to play. So I just want to give you that visual for going forward from a time management standpoint for yourself, because adding all those other tasks is also what's creating that overwhelm, and your time is feeling constrained because you're unable to do all the things. But the one thing I do want to talk through, which I love, the shoe fittings, you have fully choreographed. You've created a system around it, and you've done intake for it. You have common questions. You get common answers to them, or specific answers to them, in order to customize properly. That process in itself can be built, and you can find other fitters on your team, and you can brand something called Fittings by Rose. It can literally be a brand under your business label that other team members get trained to do on your behalf, where you only have distinct times that you're personally available, so that you are time blocking when it's with you, and the rest of the time is for how you're leading your business. And then you're training other people on your method to go ahead and do it on your behalf. What I like about this too is that it's your own IP. Like, now you're creating the Rose method of fitting, where it's something that, yes, it's known in the market. Go get fitted by Rose, get fitted by Rose. Like, it becomes a really great brand in that 15-mile radius, if not for any visiting, company that comes through San Francisco, because so many do. That then now you actually have a program that others can get trained by, and it'll free up some of your time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have started to do that a bit. It's just hard when there are certain things that maybe I do personally that maybe not every single person thinks the same way that I do. But I think that, kind of making it a method, or that sort of choreography of that, maybe I can really put it into steps and go through those steps, and kind of maybe actually write it down, or at least make it sort of codified
and refine it over time.
Refine it and be able to pass that on and kind of train on it specifically. And I think that could help for when I'm not available, that whoever is coming in can still feel reassured by that they have the next best thing, a person trained by Rose. So that's exactly, I think, kind of really getting into those details will be helpful.
And you can have a shadowing process too, where whoever you're thinking is the right person to be trained to do this is shadowing you on the next few. Have them make the notes that they're learning as observing you, etc. What did they catch? What did they get? So they have questions, and it starts to build any training manual for anyone who has this type of additional service in their retail business. It's something that you can track and keep developing over time as it gets better and better, with feedback from your clients and what else should we have asked, or maybe we need to think about it this way. But what I like about this is that you're duplicating how it's done, and you yourself are not becoming the blocker of making that service happen for your business, but you're also freeing up yourself to dictate when you personally will be available, if you do enjoy these fittings, or a certain level of dancer you'll do that fitting for, or something like that. Like, you can create a better service out of your business if that's what you're known for. And I think it would be really cool to brand it, and create your own IP around this method, because it's very unique to your store, which makes you more attractive. And if you decide, because you mentioned something about additional stores potentially in the future, the Fittings by Rose are going to be a service that is only in your stores, which I think is a really cool way to anchor some growth for your business and some differentiator services to offer your clientele. Do you find that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that has, kind of sparked some ideas already. And, now, of course, my mind is like going, I'm like, okay, thinking about all those little things and have those ideas and then I'm like, wait, no, focus.
So the focus statement to think about when it comes down to is ensuring that your time in your business is less than 50% of time working on your business, if you can. right? So start thinking about that type of allocation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that you're like, okay, so 45% of my time is going to be for a period of time as you're, onboarding people to this part of the process. There could be other things you identify too that you want to delegate, that you're creating a list of like, okay, I see it, but I'm the lead, so I'm not supposed to be the one doing that step. So who can I delegate that step to, or which dancer do I need to come in and make that move happen, right? Like you want
Yes.
to start taking inventory of all these thoughts and then being so discerning around what you take action on. That is
Mm-hmm.
truly the like entrepreneurial mastery, is discernment. It's the ability to make the decision on the thing that's best for the business, not what's best for you in that moment, right? Because in that moment, you make the decision to go sweep the floor. But that moment also could be used to go do a fitting that would make you thousands of dollars in the future, potentially, right? So, like,
Right.
having discernment on what's most important for your business is really critical to then know which step to take next.
That is so important to distinguish, like, yes, I could go do that, but I should go to that. And I feel like that's kind of where I need to make that switch sometimes. I
Yeah.
think it's an important, like, just a flip of the switch just to make sure, okay, right, go do
Yeah,
that.
who am I meant to be right now? So, who am I in my business? What's the most important role am I meant to be playing that is best for the business? And make a decision from that place. Because just because we can doesn't mean we should was a consistent mantra I had for myself many a years as I was growing my business to get out of my own way. Was just because I can doesn't mean I should. Like, because I'm
Yes.
highly capable of many a things. And so of course I can. But if I do that, it's costing my business, it's costing my growth this much when I'm the one doing it. The other thing too, as the owner, and I always repeat this, as the owner of your business, you are the most expensive employee of your company. Like,
Right.
because you're the one that's actually driving business and steering the ship of what's happening with that business. So let's just say you were bringing in 500K a year in revenue. You yourself then are a $250 an hour employee to your business, because it's up to you to make sure you hit those numbers. So to do that action that you're about to say yes to, is it worth the investment of $250 for that hour that it takes to do that task? Or is it better utilized to go do a $250 task, which is to get you another $1,000 in sales, right? Like,
Right.
this is how discernment works, is actually knowing the model you're playing in and what's the right priority call.
Yes. Right. Like, just, I could do that little task that, yeah, there's this analogy that another business owner said at another retail event, which I love from, which I know Crystal knows about from Whiz Bang training
Yeah.
at one of
Yeah. Retail
their
Success
things.
Summit.
Yes, the Retail Success Summit. He used this great analogy of the British gold medal rowing team of, they weren't getting gold medals for a long time, and then they finally made this switch. They were like, will it make the boat go faster? And having that action of, they said, like, oh, going out for pizza, is that going to make the boat go faster, or should we train for an hour on our rowing strategy that will make the boat go faster? So I that analogy is so great. Like, yes, I don't need to do the task that isn't going to really make a huge difference. I need to focus on those bigger arching decisions and actioned items that will make the boat go faster.
And also, just as a business owner, thinking of the cost of your action and the return on your action.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's really important to know that the results of your business are based on how you lead it. And so you have to make a decision from that point too. Is this leading my business in the direction I want it to go by doing this action? I think is a really good way to just check in And then sometimes you're going to have moments where you're like, I want to do it. Okay, great. Do it. Like this is not meant to be, don't have fun. This is meant to just find the tools within yourself to be discerning on where you're spending your time. So you're not creating overwhelm and you're not feeling stuck as to why the results in your business might not be where you hope for all the hard effort. Right. And you actually can go back to the moment where, oh, I made this decision. I remember that day where I made the decision to go focus on, fitted by Rose, and not go dust the shelves, because I was able to make 3 sales for fittings because I followed up on 3 leads, right? Things like that, where you spend your time, so valuable to then drive the results of your business and enjoy it.
I have a quick, because I'm sitting here loving this conversation and I can relate. I've got a million things on my to-do list, and some of the stuff is very clear that I shouldn't be doing it. And then there are some of the things that are fun. And I'm glad that you said, do it, that's okay. Then I'm like, okay, well, how do you decide? How do you prioritize? And you did mention the rapid planning method, which I want to definitely check that out. So you are saying, obviously, we're looking at is it driving revenue and is it on track?
It's based on your goals.
Okay, so
your KPIs.
Getting super clear with the KPIs and the goals. And then we're looking at our list to be like, okay, what am I tackling first?
Yeah, because if we don't know the target where you're trying to take your business, so let's just say Rose told me, we want to open up a second location in Oakland. Okay, great. Because now there's a new theater in Oakland and we know dancers are coming in there and more dance schools are opening. So we want, she's done her research. She's figured out that's the place to go. Well, if that's okay, great. You want to open up a second store. When do you want to open that second store by? So with every goal, there is a measurable date and it's a target, because then it'll give you the planning of reverse engineering from that point. How do you now come into the actions that you need to start with right now? And then that also helps you focus because you know the target you're trying to hit. So yes, it can be revenue numbers. Yes, it can be number of clients. Yes, it can be lowering expenses. Yes, it can be finding new vendors. Yes, it can, it's basically, though, first you have to have the vision of the target you're trying to go towards. You need to think about a realistic date to hit it by. And then you have planning sessions, basically breaking down the mini goals to help you inch towards it. Once you get your mini goals, then it's okay, what are my actions of this week that are going to inch me towards that goal? And that's the goal you focus on, right? So competing priorities create a lot of havoc across very small teams in a business that requires a lot of attention just to keep it running. And what I see people miss a lot is actual planning and strategizing and planning on where are we headed? Because you can be a very reactionary environment, and retail, unfortunately, has to be reactionary because the market's changing all the time. Customer behavior is changing all the time. But when you have a beautiful niche like Rose does, you actually know that there's always going to be a market for you. And you actually know that those feet need to get served and those bodies need their outfits. And you know that it's a specialty, which is so cool, because you can then go and target those people to ensure that they are serviced by you and you're the number one brand to service them, right? So goals would be about being the number one brand. We're the one that everyone's talking about. Okay, well, how do we create that, right? I want to make sure that I have 10,000 customers coming through by the end of the year. Great. How are we going to make sure the brand is solid and reliable? And what do we need to do in order to service those 10,000? Right? So you always want to target, you want to reverse engineer from that target, and then ask yourself clearly, what is the thing right now, if I focus on, that can help me move the needle right now?
Right. Yeah, I like that idea of the reverse engineering, because sometimes it's, how do I know what's the best path? So by looking ahead at that goal, you can then say, okay, well, that's where we're headed. If I can use my dance analogy here, we've got this idea of how the dance is going to go. So what are those steps that we need to take in order to hit that triple pirouette, fouette, finish,
Yes.
what are those steps to get us there? It's the same idea, just in business.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes to get to the level to be able to do that move that you just described, that I can't even repeat because I would tongue tie myself. I was never that seasoned of a dancer. I still can move to a beat, but those moves I'd never mastered, knowing even the names of. But if you're going towards that and realize you need training, sometimes it's like, this is as challenging as it's going to be. That move sounds very challenging, right? What's the training required to be able to make that move happen? Because I think sometimes too, we can have these large targets, and then, which you should have, but then give yourself the space of learning, training, and flexing the right muscles in order to actually do the move. And that generally becomes the beginning steps of what you have to do up front in order to then know that that move is actually the move to be done. Because in that learning, sometimes we have to pivot. We realize, oh, wait, that move actually doesn't hit the music the right way anymore. So we gotta alter the choreography a little bit, but we're still on target for this goal. But because we're in this rapid planning phase and we're able to assess, the thing is with rapid planning is that you marked out the tasks to get done, and then you check yourself, did I get the task done? Why didn't I get the task done? What distracted me? And the results of this task, is it still inching us towards what we're trying to go for? So again, it's the pause of being more proactive in your business and like you look, 10,000 feet up and you look at it and you say, okay, yeah, we're still on track. Next group of tasks, let's keep going. Oh, wait, something derailed a little bit. What do we need to course correct? Move forward that way.
Yeah, I like the idea of kind of pivoting or practicing. If you are working towards that goal, what are some things that you can do to help? For if it's a dance move, you're working on certain exercises that might help you. So for me, I have been trying to work on this idea of being this person more in charge, this woman in charge. Because again, it's a hard role to step into, to be honest. Especially, I don't know, I guess because I've always liked the idea more of helping people. I don't have to be in the spotlight to do that. But in order to be this business owner, this person that I want to be, I have to be more comfortable kind of being that person in charge, being seen. And part of actually why I'm even doing this is I was like, who does that person look like? Is it a person who will go on a podcast and put themselves out there? Yes. Is it this person who will raise their hand at this fitting event where we talked all about point shoes and I put myself out there? Yes, I did that actually. And, and I tried to step into this role, this leading role. Yeah, it's definitely
Practicing.
a challenge.
Well, I think also you have to have the vision of who do you need to become to stand in the business you're trying to lead, right? So if you are actually meant to be the choreographer, because of your mastery of dance, now you're trying to choreograph what actually happens, which is what you're describing to me as an owner of a business, taking the lead to make sure everyone's coordinated to get everything done, right? Then designing that role, the ideal role, is really critical to then say, okay, now here's where my skills learning needs to be developed. That's why coaches exist. That's why, other forms of mastery exist, for you to learn the models to do it at your best and not feel so alone in it. There are people who have gone before you who have done it that can assist you with it once you're clear on where you're trying to go. Because the lessons learned and the costs of trying to do it all on your own can be quite high and take too long, right? Your business could suffer sometimes. But once you have that clarity of where you're trying to go and how you want to lead it, to try and find other businesses that emulate that leadership role that you see for yourself in the business you're trying to build, and then see how they got there. What are the skills that they had to master to lead in that way? And then that starts to build your path for you on what it takes for the business that you want to build.
I've definitely been taking a lot of inspiration from listening to Crystal's podcast or, trying to think about what does that look like. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
It is. Well, and I feel like it doesn't end, right? I mean, we're always evolving, we're always changing. There's new information. Next, we're always growing. And what I love about this is really, I mean, like, I got so much out of this episode, and I think that we can lose vision of where we're going, or we haven't done the work. You nailed it, Kareen. We're not planning like we need to. We don't have that really clear vision, and then reverse engineering and working it and identifying, are we in the right condition? I love the whole dancer analogy. I also love to dance. So this is super fun.
Yeah.
Is my body in the right condition to do that move? If not, I got to train. Like, we know that from a sports perspective, dancing, as we're using our bodies, but we don't talk about that enough. I feel like in a business capacity, that we didn't all just wake up one day and know how to run a business. In fact, I'm pretty convinced no one really has it figured out. Like, we're just trying to figure it out day by day and do our best. And so when we realize that this is where I need support, it's not a weakness. It's just, I haven't learned that yet. Or maybe I don't need to do that. I don't want to learn it. Who can help support me? And I want to encourage listeners to not stop. If you're like, oh, but I don't have that skill, I'm not conditioned, so I can't. You can absolutely learn. It might take a little extra time, but honestly, Kareen, what you said is it could take you a lot longer just trying to do it on your own. Like, get support. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to find it sometimes, but you've got to identify those areas to support you. And that is just so powerful. We're going to wrap up here, ladies. But before we do, any final words from either of you? And Rose, I'll turn it to you first.
Well, just thank you. I mean, all the words of wisdom and the inspiration are so incredible. So thank you both for everything that you do.
Thank you for being here. And Kareen.
Yes, so great. So great to dialogue with you, Rose. And I'm excited to see where you go with everything. I just want to give a quick framework to everybody, just to sum up what we talked about today, and also give you some time frames of a model to think about, because this is how I run my business, and it's also what I do in my coaching practice with my clients. So I want to give it to you all today. So you want to plan, not really further out than a year when it comes to targeted goals. So you want your 12-month plan, and then you want to chunk up your goals into quarters, and every quarter have a planning session for what's going to happen in that quarter against those 12-month goals. Because each quarter is going to help you get traction towards what it is you actually are trying to achieve, that target. But it also will help you pivot quicker if you're assessing and planning every quarter. Because the first quarter is like how we get started. The second quarter is how did we do in the first quarter, and now what do we need to focus on? And the second, do we still believe in this end target goal, or were we delusional? Because that happens. So do we need to change it? Now's the time. So I've seen companies time and time again just harp on like a 12-month target that is unrealistic. And then it makes everyone suffer on the journey to try to hit it, versus saying, okay, we learned so much by trying to take action towards that. Let's shift it a little bit. It's not saying we don't go after some stretch goals, but you want to make sure that you're doing this planning session every quarter. And then your action plan is every week. And then it even goes down to every day. What do I do today? So thinking about that framework. And of course, if you want to come through the way I do it, like I offer that all the time. And my Hey Kareen app is something that I would encourage you to leverage, because even with my AI that coaches you with these kind of questions, Rose, with saying, well, what is my role? And if I have, you literally can go put in a prompt, say, hey, Kareen, what is the role that I'm meant to play if I want to do more leading? I want to be known for this type of success, and I want to make sure that my company does X, Y, Z. What's this role? And she literally will dialogue with you until you define that role. And even ask her, can you put a job description together for me? And she'll even spit out a job description for you as if you're talking to me, because that's what I've done for years, to then know what your target is. So that this way now you have a conceptual, idea, And then always ask the question, what are the qualifications I need to do this well? And she'll list out the qualifications for you. So then you understand your skills gap potential to then go find the right coach, advisor, program, whatever you need to build the acumen to become the leader I know you are, right? So hopefully that's helpful. But I just wanted to summarize because I know I'm a little jet lagged and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood, that concept and can leverage it from this episode today.
Totally. We love a good framework, and I am lacking. I'm going to do some work here. I love how you pieced it together. And I've said this on the other episodes. If you haven't tuned in, I talk to Corinne's app almost daily. It's amazing because I want to text her so bad, but that's not scalable. Like I just can't be texting her every day. So seriously, Rose, you're going to have to get the app and work through some of these really great prompt ideas, Corinne. And just to really help support you, Rose, on your journey. But we're congratulations on where you are and what you've built. Thank you for opening up to us and our listeners and showing up for this podcast, because that's awesome. So excited to see what you're going to build and continue to build. And for retail therapy, I always like to end asking our guest what piece of advice you have for our listeners. So what would be your piece of advice, Rose?
I would say be open like a sponge, open to new ideas, new, skills. I mean, I sometimes think that part of what has been helpful in helping me succeed was that I never assumed that I knew how to do something. And I think you said that too, Crystal, where you're like, do we even know what's going on sometimes? Not always. And that's okay, because then you know that you just can learn about it. So I'm excited to kind of put everything into practice.
I am so excited for you too. That's such great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. Means the world. Another great retail therapy. And everyone, remember that I'm rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Thanks. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Rooted in Retail. It means the world to me. A big favor, if you're loving the show, if you could go and leave a review. If you are an Apple listener, you can also leave a comment on Spotify if you listen that way, but that would mean the world to me. And if you're loving these conversations and you want to go deeper, then consider joining us in the mastermind. That's where you can have conversations with me, other community members, as well as speakers and guests that you've seen on this show. So go to rootedinretail.com/mastermind to learn more.